So I'm going to start recording, and I'm going to begin an introduction. So good afternoon everyone and welcome. My name is Debbie Reynolds. I'm a careers coordinator with the Careers and Employability Service, and I'm just here today to introduce today's webinar by Charityworks, who will be talking to you about careers in the charity sector. So Charityworks is the talent and leadership graduate programme for the UK's non-profit sector and a Times Top 100 employer. And I'd like to introduce Ella Rendall. Ella is the campaign's lead for Charityworks and took part in the programme herself in 2020. So I'll hand over to Ella for today's presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Debbie. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming along. As Debbie said, I'm Ella. So I'm the campaign lead for Charityworks. So I get really involved in sort of the recruitment and also the placement matching and basically pretty much everything on the Charityworks scheme. So I can tell you a little bit more about that as we go on. We're happy to answer any questions or anything at the end. I've left some time for a little Q&A. So yes, no worries about that. So a little agenda. So thought we could start off with just talking a little bit about the sector in general. And then I'm going to talk about Charityworks, which is a scheme that is here to help you launch your career in the charity sector. And there's two main elements to that. So there's the placement and also the leadership and development programme. Then going to talk about our inclusive recruitment, in particular our BAME fast track onto the programme. And then there's a little bit about what we're looking for, which I won't go into in too much detail, but I'll leave the slides up so you can take pictures and everything as well on all of those, because there are some good activities, especially if you're thinking of submitting an application to us. And then, some time at the end for Q&A. So to start with, I think it's quite interesting to just have a think about what pops into your mind when you think of the charity sector. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you sort of to tell me or anything, but I think it's called a lot of different things. So obviously it can be known as like the voluntary sector, the civic sector, the third sector, non-profit sector, or the community sector. And I think because it's got lots of different names, it's quite hard to get an idea on what it actually means and looks like in action. I think some people think about the large international development organisations, some think about sort of street fundraising or charity shops. I think another common misconception is thinking about it exclusively in a voluntary capacity. And that's not the case. There are sort of paid roles in the sector, and I'm here to tell you all about those and showcase the opportunities that we do have in the sector and the type of work you can get involved in. I also think that while we're facing sort of collectively lots of issues, sort of socially, politically, environmentally, economically, it is a really important and exciting time to join the sector, because there has been a shift in power in a lot of organisations to people really valuing their beneficiaries and putting lived experience at the heart of decision making. Which is quite an empowering moment and a really exciting time to sort of get involved and be a force for change as well. So I just wanted to start with that today, and hope that throughout the session you'll be able to see sort of the vast charities that operate in the sector, as well as the different roles that are available to you, and also how a scheme like ours can support you to lead the change that you want to see. Cool. So what is Charityworks? So Charityworks exists for you to make a real social impact in your career. As I was saying, in our current environment, sort of with the housing crisis, cost of living crisis, exacerbating inequalities, I think Charityworks provides you with an opportunity to make a real meaningful difference from the outset of your career and be at the heart of the change that is really desperately needed. And the scheme was born out of this frustration that at careers fairs and traditionally, when you look at sort of people there and the stands and the organisations that are there, they're usually sort of big corporations, and they're able to offer sort of high salary and a big leadership and development programme. And there was a real frustration that that wasn't there for the charity sector, and therefore it wasn't really seen as a viable career option. And this was 14 years ago that it started. So I think that's definitely the case then. I think now, obviously, we're working with lots of different universities, and there's lots of sort of spotlights on the third sector, which is amazing. But I think a scheme like this is still really, really important. So there are two main parts to the Charityworks programme, two main elements to our offering. So the first is a full-time paid job. So you'll have a 12-month placement in a real role at one of our partner charities or housing associations. And you'll also take part in an acclaimed leadership and development programme. And this will give you an understanding of the key issues in the sector, as well as the skills, experience and knowledge you need to work and lead in the sector. And Charityworks is really passionate about talent being the fundamental force of social change and providing you with the resources and support to become a future leader. So I think this was a useful little job profile, and also I think it reiterates that for our scheme, you're applying to be a Charityworks trainee. So at this point in the application process, you're not able to specify to us exactly what it is that you want to work in. So you can't give us kind of a specific job or a cause area. You're just applying to be on the programme. So I think that's just really important to state, just so expectations are there. So for example, if you were coming to us wanting to work at, say, Mind, although we do have some placements at Mind, in a really specific role, you may not get that straight off the bat. So just to manage expectations there, we really encourage you to be as open-minded as possible with the scheme. And it's really about launching your career in the sector. So the employer would be one of our Charityworks partners. Location is UK-wide, so we have networks all over the United Kingdom. They may be partly remote or blended working possibilities as well. And post-COVID, there's definitely been a shift in placements. So some organisations have gone fully remote, and only a few have been fully on-site. So the majority has been hybrid placements. Usually the hours will be 9 to 5 with some flexibility according to the requirements of the placement and your host organisation. So for example, if you're working in, say, events and there was an event on a Saturday, then you might need to do that and you get the time back. Fixed term 12 months contract commencing in autumn 2023. And the salary will meet the living wage as set by the Living Wage Foundation. So this is currently £21,255 for the UK-wide, or £23,302.50 for London, and that's based on a 37.5-hour week. So I think that's also important to state as well. Cool, so first we'll talk just a bit about the first element of the programme, so our partner network and also the placement itself. So as you can see from this slide, we've got a wide variety of organisations that we work with. And in 2009, when the scheme was launched, we had 3 host organisations and we placed 3 trainees. And now we work with around 90 non-profit organisations, placing around 100 to 150 trainees into the sector every year. And yeah, we have a real range of partner organisations. So we've got large charities such as Mind, the British Red Cross, Guide Dogs. We've got trade bodies like the National Housing Federation, housing associations, and also we've got smaller grassroots organisations too. And yeah, I think all of our partners that we're working with, some of them we've been working with more recently and have started this year, others we've been working with throughout the 14 years as well. So we've got some really nice relationships there at all of these organisations, and are always hearing really great feedback from our trainees. I think it's also important to say that whilst you will be able to, in the placement matching stage of the application process, you will be able to outline to us 5 kind of cause areas that you'd like to work in. So that could be sort of disability and mental health, international development, environment and sustainability. You'll be able to outline that to us. So it wouldn't be a totally sort of random match. We would try and fulfill as much as possible your top 5. Cool, so that's a bit about our partners. The next thing is our placement, and I thought it'd be useful to just talk through each of these different categories, because again, you get the opportunity to outline to us your top 5 categories as well. They're kind of areas that you want to work in. So I thought we could go through each one of these categories, and I'll just tell you a little bit about what they may entail and what a role like that may look like. And also I can give you an example of one of the placements that we've matched into this year as well, so you can kind of see what it'd be like in action. So to start off with, we've got marketing and communications. And this could be raising a charity's profile, managing comms products like social media, producing professional material. And an example would be communications officer at Health and Social Care Alliance Scotland that we matched into this year. We've got business development. So this would be developing new business to maximize the company's profile, managing client relationships and client relationship management systems. And this year we had, I think, 5 business development executive positions at Marie Curie, which were all really great roles. Research and policy. This would be conducting research, writing reports, conducting data analysis, preparing public statements or briefings or responses to governmental consultation. And a really cool role we had this year was an international research support officer at the Royal National Lifeboat Institution. And I know that the candidate there is having a wonderful time and really, really enjoying their placement this year. Next one is campaigns. So this would be developing and delivering public campaigns, raising a charity's profile, promoting a cause through PR, monitoring and analysing successes of campaigns as well. And an example of this is a campaigns and activism graduate trainee at Christian Aid that we placed into this year. Next, we've got fundraising. So this could be supporting existing income streams, developing new business to maximise profile, organising and delivering fundraising events, identifying and generating new income sources. And this year we placed into a fundraising and partnerships officer role at Togetherco. And the next 2 categories are quite broad. So under frontline, that will encompass lots of different roles. So it could be volunteer management, it could be more operational services, it could be working directly with service users, or identifying unmet needs in service provision, reporting to commissioners. A couple of examples of these. So we had a customer success officer at Smart Desk, and we also had a trainee caseworker at Manchester Care and Repair this year. In a similar vein, operations is also quite a broad category. So it could encompass executive support, project management and admin, delivery of events, business systems and processes. We had quite a few roles at Students' Unions this year. So an activities coordinator at Strathclyde Students' Union would fit into this category as well. So yeah, I hope that gives you just a little bit of an overview of the type of roles and organisations that we work in. And yeah, just to reiterate, you will have a chance to outline to us like the type of role and the type of organisation you would want to work in, and we would try and match you to your preferences as best as we can. So the other element of the Charityworks programme is the leadership programme, which is recognised by the Institute for Leadership and Management. And in a similar vein, I was just going to run through all of these different elements as well, so you can hear just a little bit more about what they entail. So learning sessions, you'll come together with your cohort to take part in monthly learning sessions. And modules include leading self, leading others, and leading the system. And these sessions will equip you with the skills and confidence required to become a force for change. And they're really great. So you get to go to London once a month for either these conferences or learning sessions. And it's a really great time to come together with your cohort. And the sessions are really valuable as well, really, really interesting. And you learn a lot about leadership and development, and they really are there just to give you those skills and those foundational skills you'll need to go on to like a management position in a charity. Next, we have peer coaching. So you'll be matched with one of your peers from your cohort for regular coaching sessions. And this will help you build relationships and also enhance your coaching skills. I know that coaching is a really sought after skill at the moment as well. So I think this is a really great part of the programme and a good one to draw upon. Mentoring, so you'll be matched with a mentor to help you guide you through your Charityworks year and your next career steps. And these are senior leaders in charities across the sector, and you'll probably meet with them around 6 times. And it's really nice to just have that extra person as well who's a bit further on in their career, to just bounce off ideas and talk to them about your passions, the way you want to be, and yeah, a really useful relationship to have. And impact research, so you'll also undertake one piece of in-depth research, combining your passions with organisational business needs. And as part of this research, you'll collect data, you'll research a live problem, and provide recommendations and an implementation plan to make a really tangible impact. This is a really, really great opportunity for you to raise your profile in the company, and also to have a piece of research that you're really proud of, and you'll end up presenting it to various people, and yeah, it can have a real great impact on the organisation. And then finally, we've got the national conferences, and this is where leaders in the sector will come together, share their experience, learnings, and live issues to debate, and you'll think of solutions as a collective. So it's a really, really inspiring time actually to come together. We have really great keynote speakers, and again, you'll be with your cohort. It'll be a big event in London, and yeah, a really, really exciting time to come together. There's also one other element that's not on here, and that is our feedback infrastructure, which we're quite passionate about. So we have personal development planning, 360 reviews that are also in place to ensure really open and honest feedback and learning. And that's definitely a really, really key part of our program as well, is just being really transparent, having a culture of feedback, and making sure, yeah, we're really focusing on your personal development as well and what you want to get out of the program. So I hope you can see that this sort of development offer alongside the program and the placement is designed to support and prepare you to launch your career in the sector, and to also provide you with those leadership skills you'll need to thrive. So yeah, together I think it's a really cool offering. And here I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience of being a Charityworks trainee. I thought it might be useful just to tell you about my experience, and of course I'm happy to answer any questions you have at the end as well on that. So I joined Charityworks. I was on the programme in 2020/2021 cohort, and I basically had graduated from my undergrad in 2019, and I was trying to find a job in the sector for about 9 months, and I found it really difficult. I found there was that constant conundrum of needing a certain amount of experience, but then not having the experience, and yeah, not being offered the jobs because of that. And I also found that it was a lot of voluntary opportunities, and yeah, if they were paid, then people who were much more senior were getting those positions. And I'd never really seen myself applying for a graduate scheme as such. The thought of like psychometric tests and things like that really they kind of scared me away from that. And yes, with Charityworks, it was a really, really human-centered approach to recruitment and selection. There are no psychometric tests, and it just seemed like much more up my street. I applied and I was successful, and I was placed at a housing association in the business intelligence team as a portfolio support officer. And I tried to be as open-minded as possible. So I just, yeah, I said I was really flexible in terms of my course area and exactly the kind of role I wanted to work in. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do post-uni, so it was actually quite nice just being as flexible as possible and seeing what happened. And I absolutely loved it. I found it really, really interesting. I was promoted after a year to a business excellence lead and stayed in the company for about 9 more months, doing a lot of continuous improvement work and strategy. And yeah, it really gave me such great insight. My favourite part of the programme was the impact research. So despite being in quite a kind of technical data role in the business intelligence team, my passion was for diversity and inclusion. And while I was at the organisation, I set up a BAME community as a support space for BAME members of staff. And just from some of the conversations I was having, I got the impression that there was a lot of work that needed to be done to ensure everyone felt included. So I did my impact research on amplifying BAME voices, and looked into diversity, equity and inclusion at my company. And the findings were really, really impactful, and they informed the people strategy at my organisation, and worked closely with the CEO. So it was just a really, really wonderful opportunity to really raise my profile, but also pursue something that I'm passionate with, despite the fact that my role wasn't directly linked to that. I think it's a really nice sort of way of looking at it. So it doesn't necessarily matter where you are. You're able to make an impact and have an influence and really just get as much out of the programme that you really want to. Yeah, so happy to answer more questions about that. So driving diversity in the non-for-profit sector. So in 2017 to 2018, we realised through a lot of the data we were collecting on our applicants that the group that we were receiving applications from and being successful was predominantly white and middle class, which is not representative of the communities that charity partners serve. And we really felt the need to shift this power and value lived experience and putting people at the heart of decision making, especially within leadership positions. So we developed the BAME Fast Track, and this is a positive action scheme for BAME applicants, and it offers them a spring developmental experience as well as fast track access to the final assessment stages of Charityworks. And I would really, really encourage anyone from a Black, Asian or minority ethnic background to apply through the fast track. You just get an extra half-day development day, because we saw that through our applications, BAME candidates tended to fall out of the process at a similar stage. So you just get the half-day development day to kind of level up and then put in with the rest of the candidate pool. And I applied through the fast track, and I was so happy to see a positive action scheme like this. And it's making a really active intervention in the sector. So would definitely encourage you to apply through that link. Another element to our inclusive recruitment is tackling unconscious bias, and we take many steps to do this. So we set criteria that assesses potential and competency rather than experience. So while we recognise that experience can be useful, identifying potential can be even more valuable, particularly in early careers. So we use questions that assess core competencies and skills relevant to the role, which not only helps us to best identify who will perform well, where experience isn't really a driver, but it can also help us to avoid bias against candidates who may not have had the same life opportunities. So really important just to draw on any experiences that you've had, and not worry about sort of the experience itself, but more about what you learned from it. We evaluate candidates in a consistent way. So all of our assessment processes, from application form to group activities, have a really defined, clear scoring framework. And yeah, this just ensures that every candidate has the same opportunity and helps to manage fairness. Also, to mitigate against confirmatory bias, we score application responses to the question rather than one application at a time. So this means that our applications are basically chunked. So we'll just, if we're all marking 100 applications, we'll mark 100 versions of the answers to question 1. And then we'll do the same for question 2. So you don't build up the opinion of someone in your head. We also score in the moment to better reflect candidate responses at the time. So we're not really allowed to go back and amend our score. We can only kind of repeat the question or kind of clarify. So just to ensure that we're really consistent. We also use multiple assessors from diverse perspectives. As I said, we don't use psychometric tests. We carefully consider our use of language. And we just try and make the process as accessible as possible and really encourage applicants with disabilities and health conditions to receive suitable, reasonable adjustments to perform at their best. So this could involve alternative application formats, such as a pre-recorded video or documents sent in Word instead of PDF. So yeah, we really do try and let candidates know proactively we're doing this to support them. And yeah, especially those who are cautious about their disclosure. Cool. So I think I just mentioned most of this, but with our assessment process, with no psychometric tests, we found that they're inherently biased, especially for people from different cultural backgrounds. We only have one application form that's competency-based, so it doesn't matter what the experience is, but the competencies you show, and we'll run through those on the next slide. Every application is marked twice. There are no applications that don't get marked at all, so there's no first pass filters. So as I said, it's really human-centered, and you'll definitely have it marked. We have the assessment centre, and then once the assessment centre, if you have been successful, you'll be invited to the placement matching stage. So what we are looking for in our candidates, so any degree classification or no degree, we now accept applications from people, yes, who have not been to university. We're trying to open it up and make the process as accessible as possible. But what we're looking for in terms of competencies are for you to demonstrate a commitment to create social change, to be beneficiary and customer focused, to communicate with impact, build positive relationships, be resilient, results driven, innovative and entrepreneurial, adaptable, and have a commitment to personal development. I think that the most important ones there are resilience and adaptability. We'll definitely be wanting to see examples of a time that you've shown these when within the application process. So those are the main competencies on what we're looking for. There's more information of this on our website, so I would encourage you to go and have a look at this and think about some examples. Right, now this is a bit about writing a great application. So this is just saying about valuing the skills that you have that demonstrate the general competencies. I think this is a really, really useful exercise to do, so it might be useful to just take a picture of this, and it's probably good for any job that you're looking to apply for, not just for the scheme, but to consider the skills you've learned or developed in each of the following settings. So first of all, academic through your studies, extracurricular through societies or other activity, familial or caring responsibilities, volunteering, and then employment, including part-time. So sort of breaking all of those scenarios up and being able to show a really varied different sort of way you've got your skills from. Also to think about the genuine challenges you've faced or failures you've had in any of the settings above too. So maybe you can kind of map out all of the different settings and then the things that you've learned and the challenges you faced, and most importantly, kind of what you've done to overcome them. I think would be a really useful exercise. Competency-based questions. So these are usually identifiable by tell me about a time when, and these are in our application form, as I have been banging on about. We would recommend writing the writing technique STARE. So this is situation, task, action, result, evaluation. And I think that within these competency-based questions, a lot of people tend to just respond with the task and the action. So they'll say, this is what I was tasked with doing, and this is the action I took in responding to the task. Slightly better answers will outline the situation, so they'll outline and contextualize the situation. Then they'll say what they're tasked with doing, the action they took, and then the result. But the best responses, and definitely will get you the highest marks, would be to do all 5 here. So at the end, really adding in what you learned from doing this, how you applied the learning, what you do differently next time. That little bit of evaluation there will really elevate your answer. That's definitely what we're looking for in our applications. And yes, translating these into assessment. So find out what's being assessed, really read the website, understand values, identify the competencies and role requirements. I think it's really important to not undervalue any experience. Be really, really proud of the experience. And as I say, we're looking for competencies more than anything. It's about what you learned from the experience and a way for you to show your skills. There's a little bit here about CVs and cover letters and really aligning your skills. We won't need to see a CV or a cover letter for our application process. And yeah, I think this last point is really undervalued, or people just don't think about it as much, but it's really important. We really want to know why you're motivated to apply. Why is it right for you now, and what do you want to gain? We want to see how we can help you achieve your goals as well. And definitely, I think it's important for why now, and why us, why Charityworks as well, why this scheme in particular. And then this is just another nice exercise which you could take a picture of and do as well, because I think it's quite helpful. And it's just thinking about your personal narrative. So your origins and influences, where are you from, what's your background, what's had an impact on the person you are today, your motivation and what drives you, what you're passionate about, your ambitions, where do you want to be after university, and what do you hope to achieve. I think, yeah, this is really useful as well when you're doing that self-reflection. And also just trying to think about exactly what it is you want to be applying to, and how you're going to get there and achieve your goals. This is just a little bit here about our impact. So we're a 4 times top 100 graduate employer. We're a UK 300 top employer. 94% of trainees would recommend Charityworks to a potential host organisation. 98% of trainees value the relationships they're building through Charityworks, and 95% of trainees are proud to be part of Charityworks. So they're just some stats that we're really proud of. Cool, and I think the only other thing to say is that our applications are open. You can apply through our website, and our applications close on the 28th of February at 1 p.m. So definitely sooner rather than later if you are interested in applying. there was also, I think it might just be under here actually, there's an email address which is info@charityworks.co.uk, and that's just whether if you did have any questions, you can obviously take questions now, but if you do have any that just come to you, then feel free to email and a member of the team will get in touch as well. But other than that, happy to take questions. I can hand back over to you if you like, Debbie.
Yes, I don't know if there's anybody has any questions at all. We've still got some participants, so if you want to turn your microphone on, you can speak to us, or if you'd rather keep it in the chat box, then we're happy to take a question there. And just if you're thinking about something you'd like to ask, I've also just popped in that email address, info@charityworks.co.uk. So
that's great.
Could I just ask about what locations you have with these? If you got through on the application, where are they, like in the north, in Cumbria? What are they? Are there any?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, that's a great question. So yes, absolutely. We work with partners all over the UK. So absolutely, we would have the opportunity at the placement matching stage to outline to us where you'd be open to work to. And you can also outline working arrangements. If you're happy to work sort of remotely or you'd like a hybrid role, you can outline all of those to us. Our organisations that we work with do change year on year. But we do a lot of our business development throughout the campaign. So say that you were successful and you had outlined to us location-wise, say that you only wanted to work in Cumbria, and we didn't have someone in Cumbria, we would then actively go and be doing some business development there. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, because we do have a vast variety that we work on, and we'd also encourage you to be as open-minded as possible, but would be in constant communication with you. So if your location preferences were causing any kind of issues with us being able to place you, we would just be in touch and say, is there any chance you can broaden them or consider remote working or anything like that as well?
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, I think we've got a question from Sandra as well. She's asking, are there any charities that work with the environment?
Yes, so one of the categories of the charities that you can sort of let us know that you're interested in is environmental. I, off the top of my head, cannot remember because I'm fairly new, so I've come in kind of halfway through this year. But environment and sustainability has been, we've always partnered with charities working with environment, or at least roles within charities in environment and sustainability, which most charities do have nowadays as well. So yeah, definitely a really common one that you can just let us know you're interested in.
Okay. I don't think there are any more questions, so I don't know. Are you okay to wrap things up now, Ella?
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I say,
We've got another question that's just come in from Craig. He says, is it on the website, the different sections to work in?
All of is in terms of the different, not the different areas, the different like marketing, or like environment. Yes, it should be the different cause areas you can work in, as well as the different role types as well.
Okay, and we've got the Charityworks application link that's on the screen there, and obviously applications close 28th of February. So thank you very much, Ella, for that, and for giving us all that wonderful information on Charityworks. Just ask quickly, any last questions? No, I don't think so. Okay, are you happy to wrap up, Ella? Is there any last piece of information, or are we happy to finish?
Yeah, no, happy to finish. I would just encourage you to apply. Yeah, and if there is anything more, then just email us and we'll get back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time. Bye.